So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for coming to my stakeholder briefing today. It's great that you are all here, and thanks for making the time available. I also invited my coach here, Harry Peterson, for the stakeholder briefing as well. So you already met Harry during your behavior interviews earlier, so most of you guys already familiar with him. Now, the whole stakeholder briefing will be about 20 minutes or so, and after that we also have some time for question and answers. Plus, there is a little bit of a surprise exercise we might do. Now, as you can see here on the screen, this is really the agenda for our stakeholder center, for our stakeholder briefing at the moment. So I will first explain about Marshall Goldsmith Stakeholder Centered Coaching, what that's all about. Then I will share with you my 2 areas for leadership growth that I also already put in my email to you. I would like to explain to you what is the role of the stakeholder in this process, because it's about you supporting also my leadership growth process. Last but not least, then I will talk about the role of the coach in this process, how he is helping me to accelerate leadership growth. And then what is my commitment as a leader in the process? And after that, last but not least, what are the next steps we're going to do, or I will be doing with you? So first of all, Marshall Goldsmith Stakeholder Centered Coaching. It's really a process where we focus on helping leaders to grow measurably. And one of the interesting things that I learned from Harry, my coach, is that the challenge of most leaders today is not to more understand about the practice of leadership. It's not about more seminars and more webinars and more books and more know-how to acquire, but it's really about practicing the understanding of leadership that we have, and it's really about more show-how. It's really about more behavior. And that's really the focus of my process of leadership change as well. Through the Marshall Goldsmith Stakeholder Centered Coaching process, there's 2 things that I'm looking for to get out of this. So one is that the process enables leaders to become measurably better at a certain behavior and help leaders therefore to be further successful. But also, and that's where you come in, is to get a system that I can use to further improve myself going forward, but also a system that I can use in working with my team like yourself to further gain leadership effectiveness goals together. So it's not just about me, it's also about you, but it's first about me. Now, the 2 areas I want to get better at are very specifically, I want to get better at listening and better delegation. This all came out of the assessments that you have so kindly participated in. So we did the 360 online, and then we did the behavioral interviews. So I looked at all this information. Some of it was great and was very satisfactory for me to see. Some of it was more difficult to digest, to be honest. And some of it also laughed about together with the coach on some of the comments that people have been making, which was really great. Now, specifically, I noted that some people felt that the way I behave, being very task-oriented, that they not always feel that they're being appreciated, and sometimes their feelings get hurt. And I was not so much aware of that, really. So I really like to apologize to the people here, and some of you are probably acknowledging and understanding what I'm talking about. So I'd like to apologize to any of you who felt that they are not being appreciated for who they are, or if I have kind of impacted their feelings in a negative way. That was definitely not my intention, and would like to point out that I'm really happy to work with any of you on the team, and also I really appreciate you being part of the team. So please take note of that, and my apologies if that has been coming across otherwise. I'm going to focus moving forward on these following 2 leadership areas: better listening and better delegation. Now, what is the role of you as a stakeholder in this process? So first of all, we're now at the stage that we start going into a monthly stakeholder involvement process. So on a monthly basis, I will come to each of you individually, and I will ask you for some suggestions on how to get better in the areas of better listening and better delegation. So I will have short 2 to 3 minute conversations with you on asking you a few questions, listening to your comments and suggestions, then thanking you for your contribution. Once I've talked to all the stakeholders individually, then I will think about the various suggestions I got. I will draft a monthly action plan, discuss it with my coach Harry, and then once the action plan is final, I will share that with you through the email, responding to you on what I'm going to do in the next 30 days. and then I will actually execute the action plan on the job, making the change visible, and then also towards the end of the month follow up with you to get some further suggestions. So that's a monthly cycle we will be going through, and it's going to be the 7-step process as you just see here on the screen. Now, every 3 or 4 months or so, I understand from Harry that we're going to do a leadership growth progress review, which is a short online survey where we're basically going to measure how you guys perceive and see the changes that I'm making in the areas of better listening and better delegation. And that report then comes to me and also goes to my boss to measure how leadership growth is happening. So that's in a nutshell the whole process and your involvement in that process. Now, what is the importance of stakeholders? You as a stakeholder are an accountability partner throughout this process. So therefore, be open, be honest, be collaborative to provide me with suggestions in the area of better delegation and better listening. But also, if you see that I'm not doing what I'm supposed to be doing, kindly point it out to me, because I'm fine with the fact that if there is slippage, point it out, because I really want to get on track, stay on track, and keep on moving. Now, why is it important to use stakeholders in this process? Because at the end of the day, leadership is a live, on-the-job exercise. It's not something that happens in an isolated environment. So you as a stakeholder, when it comes about listening and delegation, you are literally stakeholders, right? And it's about the things that I can do to work better with you in those 2 areas, delegation and listening. So, and to create real value that makes sense to you, but also makes sense to me at the same time, and makes sense and creates value for the organization. So that's why stakeholders are important. So I'm focusing on getting better, becoming better at listening and delegation. And the aim is that not only those 2 things are going to get better, because we did a little analysis together with Harry, and I noted that once I get better at listening and delegation, also communication will be better. There should be higher productivity in the way we work together, or higher productivity in our department. The quality of our services should further increase, which should lead to higher customer satisfaction. At the same time, it should lead to better collaboration across functions, and also higher engagement of you as a stakeholder, i.e. employee in the organization, as well as other people who are in our team. So there's a lot of other benefits that we should be getting from this, or at least I should be getting from this, but also you should be getting from this. So altogether it should be about 25 or so benefits that we inventorized, and this is just a short summary of that. Now, important in this whole process is the disciplined stakeholder engagement every month. So therefore, every month I will come to you and ask you for some suggestions, and probably also for some feedback on how I did do last month. So the more disciplined you and I go through this process, the more of these benefits we will reap. And I'm realizing that the discipline part is really my responsibility, but I just want to kind of forewarn you on this, that that's going to be a monthly exercise that I'm very determined to do in a disciplined way. Now, the whole goal of leadership growth is to make it measurable, and to make it also make sure that you and I see this and perceive this, that we're really creating the value that we're looking for in terms of better listening and better delegation. So in order to make it measurable and to get those benefits, stakeholder involvement is important, because it's about real-time, on-the-job change and benefits we want to see. The monthly follow-up, the disciplined implementation of that is important to create sustainability and to go from change behavior to create that into habits that become more naturally and come more naturally. And then last but not least, the leadership growth progress review is really kind of a measurement moment that we can do every quarter to kind of really see how stakeholders are looking at this and whether we are really making any, or I making any measurable progress. Now, what's the role of the coach? So Harry is here today. So the role of the coach is really like the personal trainer in a gym or in a fitness center who helps the person being trained to accelerate their growth, in this case the leadership growth. So therefore, what Harry as my coach personal trainer does is to help me in a disciplined implementation of the process, to share his expertise in terms of leadership and skills, and to help me to shape those skills in a consistent manner, and also to provide any other resources and advice to me as necessary as I'm going through this process. Now, other parts of his role and responsibility are to do the measurement progress review every quarter or so, but also as a advocate of the stakeholders. So if you would like to mention something to Harry that you can't or don't want to talk to me about, then please feel free to call him, literally call him or send him an email and talk to him about it, because that's really very fine and I'm totally okay with that. In the end of the day, you already met Harry, you already had the discussion, so knock yourself out and be in touch with him as necessary. Now, very specifically, the commitment that I'm going to do throughout this process, and very specifically what's going to happen in those 7 steps, I want to share with you right now. So on a monthly basis, I come to you probably in a one-on-one meeting. So we just spent 3 to 5 minutes together talking about this. And I'm going to ask you specifically, Jonathan, thanks for being my stakeholder. I want to get better at listening and delegation. What can I do in my relationship to you to get better at this? Can you give me 2 or 3 suggestions that I can do in the next 30 days? So then I will stop talking and I will listen to your suggestions. And once you have provided me your suggestions, then I will say thank you and thanks for providing me your suggestions. I will think about this and I will talk to you. I will respond to you later. Having talked to all the stakeholders, preferably face to face, maybe through the telephone or maybe through the email, then I will collect all those suggestions and draft an action plan that I will discuss with my coach Harry. And then once the action plan is final, I will respond to you through the email in sharing that action plan or parts of that action plan. Then I will implement that action plan. That's step number 6. And then at the end of the month, I will follow up with you again to get further suggestions from you. And maybe throughout the month, I will ask you as well what you're seeing and how you're seeing that change might or might not be happening. So that would be kind of an informal follow-up here and there. But at the end of the month, I want to have another discussion with you for 3 to 5 minutes to go back to step number 1 and listen to further suggestions that you might have. So this process is really very important to me. So therefore, as next steps, what will happen is that in the next 2 days, so I'm going to send you a short email right after this session. Then either you respond to me through the email with suggestions, and in absence of that, I will make an appointment with you then this Friday. If I don't hear anything from you in the next 2 days, I will be at your desk this Friday and have that short discussion with you on giving me some suggestions in the areas of better listening and better delegation. Now, altogether, what is really important to me is that you are supporting me in this process, that I can count on you. So therefore, let go of the past, let's focus on the future, support me in the process of leadership change. You can do that by providing me with 2 or 3 suggestions every month, and make sure that the feedback and the feed forward I get from you on a regular basis is open and honest. So thanks for your support. If you see that I'm not doing the right things, point it out to me. Thanks for your support. This is really great, and I'm really excited about being part of this process. Now, after you're done with the stakeholder briefing, then you should ask the leader to send this email. As you can see here, this is a draft to the stakeholders to announce the next steps and to kind of formalize the discussion that just happened in the stakeholder briefing. So as it says here, responding to stakeholders after stakeholder briefing. So dear colleagues, thanks for your commitment to be part as a stakeholder in my leadership growth process. As you know, I'm committed to focus on better listening and better delegation. As I ask you in the stakeholder briefing to let go of the past, evaluate my progress from here on forward, provide me with 2 or 3 suggestions, be supportive in the process of leadership change with being honest and open with feedback and being positive in supporting this whole process. And then also be open and honest when we do the leadership growth progress review every quarter or so. So therefore, my immediate commitment is to you that I will come to you and ask for some suggestions in the next 48 hours. If you, for whatever reason, would like to share these comments and suggestions with me through the email, then please send me an email At the same time, if you have any questions or things that you want to discuss with a coach that you cannot discuss with me, feel free to contact my coach anytime. Here is the email and telephone number. Thank you. Have a nice day. Thanks for supporting me in the process.